We all think we're good listeners. We nod our heads, make eye contact, and throw in the occasional, "Yeah, totally." But if we're being honest, half the time we're not listening. We're just waiting for our turn to talk. If you've ever been in a conversation where someone's sharing something deeply personal, and your brain goes, "Oh, that reminds me of something that happened to me," then congratulations, you're part of the club. The truth is, we suck at listening. And it's not just you, it's all of us. A few months ago, I was having a conversation with my wife Mel. She was talking about something important, but I don't even remember what it was, which kind of proves my point, because halfway through I zoned out and started thinking about something completely different. Probably an email I hadn't responded to, or whether I'd already made my second cup of coffee and just forgot about it. Then I realized she'd stopped talking and was looking at me. That look that says, "You weren't listening, were you?" So naturally, I panicked and did what any great communicator would do. I repeated the last 3 words she said. "So that's interesting." It wasn't interesting. Not even close. That's when it hit me. How often do I do this? Not just with her, but with my friends, coworkers, even my audience. I call it performative listening. You're technically there, but mentally you're already somewhere else, crafting your response, solving a problem, or thinking about what to have for dinner. We're not listening to understand, we're listening to reply. And it's not really our fault. We live in a world built to reward talking, not listening, and it shows. Studies suggest that we spend about 55% of our communication time listening, but only remember 17 to 25% of what we hear immediately after. An hour later, that number drops to around 20%. Part of that's because our brains are overachievers. We can process up to 3,000 words per minute, but the average person only speaks around 125. So while someone's talking, our mind's basically running laps around them, thinking about dinner, that awkward email we sent 3 days ago, or how we're supposed to be listening while realizing we're not. In his book, The Lost Art of Listening, psychologist Michael Nichols writes, "Most people don't listen with the intent to understand, they listen with the intent to reply." And when I first read that, I felt personally attacked. The louder you are, the more the algorithm likes you. We have platforms to share our thoughts, opinions, and takes, but almost none that reward silence, curiosity, or presence. We scroll through conversations like TikTok's 10 seconds of attention, and if it doesn't entertain us immediately, we mentally swipe up. Even in real life, we treat listening like a waiting room for our next sentence. We're constantly thinking, okay, how can I make this about me? And we're conditioned for it. From the time we were kids, we were told, raise your hands, not just sit quietly and reflect on what your classmate just said. Somewhere along the line, we started confusing talking more with understanding more. And to make it worse, only about 7% of meaning comes from the actual words we say. The rest, 93%, comes from tone and body language. So when half our communication happens through screens, emojis, and Slack messages, it's no wonder we're misinterpreting each other. And it's made us worse communicators, worse partners, and honestly, worse humans. When we stop listening, we stop learning. We lose empathy, patience, and connection, the very things that make conversations meaningful. Think about it. When was the last time you felt truly heard? Like someone wasn't just nodding politely, but was fully there with you, not checking their phone, not waiting to speak, just present. It's rare. Because everyone's distracted. We can't hear anyone else because we can't even quiet our own thoughts long enough to listen. And it's not just about discipline. The truth is, the world around us is engineered to make deep listening almost impossible. Our entire interaction environment has changed. We used to have conversations face to face, now our notifications join them. From the buzz on our wrist to the vibration in our pocket, it's never been easier to be in a Zoom meeting while also checking Slack, scrolling Instagram, and ordering toothpaste. The modern world has turned multitasking into an Olympic sport, and somehow everyone's competing for gold. And if focusing this long on one video without checking your phone feels impossible, trust me, I get it. When I realized how bad I was at listening, I started paying attention ironically. Once I started paying attention to how bad I was at listening, I realized it wasn't going to fix itself. So I tried a few small experiments. Here are a few things that helped. 1, pause before responding. Most of us listen just long enough to grab a few keywords before we jump in. The next time, wait 2 seconds before you reply. It feels awkward, but it shows you're thinking, not performing. Number 2, stop multitasking while listening. You can't half listen while checking Slack or scrolling through text. You're not multitasking, you're just being half present in 2 places. Number 3, ask one question before you reply. Instead of matching their story with one of your own, ask something that deepens their point. It shifts the focus from me to you. Number 4, listen with your body. Your posture, your eyes, your face, they all communicate whether you're actually tuned in or just pretending. The best listeners don't interrupt, they absorb. Interviewing guests on my podcast forced me to actually practice this. When you're sitting across from someone like Chris Voss or Captain Sandy, you have to listen. Every word counts. If your mind wanders, you miss the insight that could make the episode. That experience taught me something I didn't expect. Good listening isn't passive, it's a form of curiosity. It takes intention, it's saying, right now you have my full attention. And yeah, it's not easy because silence makes us uncomfortable. We want to fill it with our thoughts, our opinions, our clever little stories. But in that silence, that pause is where connection actually happens. When someone feels heard, it changes the relationship. They open up more, they trust more, and ironically, that's when you're finally heard too. Listening isn't about collecting words, it's about collecting understanding. We suck at listening because we're scared of what might happen if we stop talking long enough to actually hear. Around 85% of what we learn throughout our lives comes from listening, which means the less we do it, the more we miss out on learning, not just about others, but about ourselves. And that's what I've learned through hundreds of interviews and conversations. The moments that changed me most weren't the ones where I spoke, but where I shut up and actually listened. Because sometimes silence says everything you've been trying to explain. So maybe this week, try saying a little less and listening a little more. You don't need to fix, reply, or add value. You just need to be there. Because sometimes the best thing you can say is nothing at all. Now, if you've made it this far and actually listened, I'm proud of you. You're officially better than 90% of the internet.